Welcome to the Digital Concierge. I'm your host, Holly Phillips, and today I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Friedrich, the Managing Director of Rosewood Magna in Madrid and the Regional Vice President for Southern Europe at the Rosewood Hotel Group. If you had to completely start again, what would be a no-brainer for you?
For me, the two most important things, one is your website and social media.
Now, Villa Magna is one of the most elegant and iconic addresses in the city, and in today's conversation, we'll be diving into Friedrich's journey in luxury hospitality.
How do you think the expectations have changed from then to now?
We live in such a fast-paced world right now that it's all about getting things done quickly.
And what truly sets Rosewood apart in an ever-evolving landscape. What's your view on the future of hospitality? Do you see it really leaning into AI?
No, the AI is a reality and AI is coming. Guests will still want to speak to somebody. It's about touching the guest emotionally, and that AI will not do for you.
So whether you're tuning in from the boardroom or from the office, get ready to be inspired. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Digital Concierge.
Pleasure.
So I don't know if you do know how we got connected with Rosewood, so to share that, but we went door knocking a couple of years ago and we were greeted with a very friendly Sylvia, and we actually offered a free video. So that was our gesture and demonstration of our work. And then the next day we came and filmed and we produced some assets and they performed very well. So then that turned into a production. So there's a little anecdote for you. So
Well, welcome back in that case.
Yes. So we're very fond of it. But
Well, Sylvia's still here with us, so she's doing a great job.
Amazing. So yeah, if you can maybe introduce yourself. I know you recently got promoted, so congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so my name is Friedrich von Schönburg, and I'm the managing director here on the Rosewood Magna in Madrid, but also now regional vice president for all Southern Europe for Rosewood. So since the 1st of January, so very exciting. A new role that I got promoted to.
Amazing. And so what does that kind of role entail? How did that change happen from managing director?
So that role really entails is to give support to other hotels. So at the moment, as Rosewood grows, especially the portfolio in Europe, some extra layers need to go in there to support the day-to-day operations and overseeing of the properties. So at the moment, Europe is split in two. You've got Northern Europe and Southern Europe. So I've got my colleague Vincent Villa out of the Crillon in Paris, who looks after all Northern Europe Rosewood properties, and I've been now appointed to look after all the Southern European properties. Now, as day of today, there's only two, so that makes it a bit easier, but there's a huge pipeline. So in my region, there's in the next 3 to 4 years, we've got 8 hotels opening. So it's very much on the development side, hiring, supporting the new managing directors and getting the Rosewood DNA, understanding what we are about for the ones that come outside of the company, and more than anything, being a supporting tool for them, but also a connection to the owners for the ease of communication.
Amazing. Okay, so it sounds like you've got an exciting roadmap coming up.
Very exciting, especially I also love the area that I've been given. So Southern Europe is not that bad between Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal. So
amazing. So maybe before we touch on, you said about the DNA of Rosewood, but I'd love to know, how did you get into hospitality? So I believe it came inspired by your father. So maybe you can share a bit about this.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to be born and grew up in the southern part of Spain, in Marbella, where my father in the 50s opened a hotel with his cousin. And I was exposed from young age, to the hotel life. Now, personally, I never wanted to go into hospitality. Neither my parents wanted me to go into hospitality. But it was during a strike in 2001 where I was asked to come and help out because no worker was there to actually work. And it was June, I believe, so it was a very busy period for the hotel. And I'm spending a whole day there, from reception to the beach club to the restaurant to the bar. Worked throughout the whole day. Forgot to even have a break or to eat anything. Fell dead into bed that day, and then woke up with a phone call next morning, and my mom saying, "Hey, you've got a guest from the hotel wants to speak to you." And I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" What did I do? Yeah, what did I do? I was thinking quickly, what did I do anything wrong? And then that person actually just wanted to thank me because the experience they had was so fantastic thanks to the attention I gave them. And that filled me with so much joy and happiness. So I said, wow, if this is something I could do for the rest of my life and then why don't I do it? And that's kind of then when I decided to actually do follow hospitality and went to Switzerland and study hotel management in Lausanne.
Amazing. I love that. I think it's so nice that it's born from a passion. Yeah. So I think obviously you've gone through such a good time frame. You've seen so much change. How would you say that guests then, so obviously that guest was appreciating so much the attention you gave, but how do you think the expectations have changed from then to now?
Well, on one side, I think the expectations have not changed because at the end of the day, you know, when you're in a luxury property, it's all about the service, right? So it's all about having people there to support, to anticipate their needs, to engage, and to personalize that experience. And I think that was always very, very important. I think what has changed now very much is also the tools that we have, especially with technology, that help us to get to know our guests beforehand, before they arrive, communicate easier with them, you know, being it through email, to WhatsApps, to special preference forms that we send out that previously, I guess it wasn't that easy. Then we have great communication channels. We have internal, with all the guests, internal communication chat that, you know, that it doesn't matter which messaging device you use, being WhatsApp, being Telegram, being you name it, you know, WeChat. It will come straight to our system and we respond and it goes back to that. Doesn't matter in which language they write. We respond in our language and automatically responds to them. So making it very fast and very engaging and very easy for every guest. You know, well, before you might have to go to the dictionary and go through and point a word, right? So it makes it all much faster, and for us also then to be able to resolve requests and questions faster too. I think as well, you know, the way of engagement through all the systems, being the television system, you know, being also on the social, where you can already promote, you can engage, and you can communicate. And I think that has changed a lot and has opened very much our experience, our service to the guests, and with that as well, creating more of a direct communication channel, an easy follow-up channel as well, than before.
No, I think it's really interesting. I think there are so many brands where they see all these channels as an opportunity, but as a push communication. And, you know, I keep hearing you talk about two-way communication. So how do you make sure that you have this, I guess, a continuous style and way of communicating across all of these touch points? Like, how is this sense of place instilled across all of those?
Well, it's nice that you mentioned, because for us, the sense of place, the sense of discovery is one of the most important values and philosophies within Rosewood. So each property, even though we use the same systems and we have the same kind of standard operating procedures, the way we potentially write the message, the way we engage, we connect, we always try to find something local. To you being a local word, if it's a special day, well then reaching out and explaining what's happening on the day in this city or in this country, and with that, you know, getting that engagement, as well as, you know, we are not necessarily a hotel that, as you mentioned, you know, just sends push notifications, happy hour time in the bar. So first, we don't have happy hours, but yeah, I know. Maybe in the future, but you know, but it is, you know, we do communicate in a way, because what we want to get to know our guests, right? So it is more on a personal level. So of course, it is a little bit maybe more time consuming, but still, you know, we know who's interested in what, we know the guest preferences. So in case we would have a happy hour one day, maybe we would push that to the guests that we know that really enjoy the time in the bar with us, right? Okay. But, you know, so it's a little bit about knowing our guests and then therefore personalizing, catering those messages or those communications to them accordingly.
And to do that, do you do any exercises like user journey mapping? So you keep talking about preferences. Like, what does that look like? So you have somebody's profile. Mm-hmm. How are you gathering this information? How are you then utilizing that to make sure they have an enhanced experience? Okay, maybe you can't share.
No, of course. So for us, you know, it all starts already from the moment you make the reservation, right? So if you make the reservation, and we have around 40% of our bookings come direct, so they come via email or our phone. So that gives our team time to, you know, ask those questions, engage from, first of all, you know, why you're coming to Madrid, or any of our other destinations. Why, you know, is there anything special you need arranged? Is it your first time? any preferences that you have on your setup of the room. You know, we ask about when do you want to have your room service, when you want to have a turn on, so you don't come into your room just when you actually, normally, you knock on the door like, oh, I'm always going to be working until midday and then I'm going to head out, or whatever it is, right? So like this, we don't disturb you. We know that you have always late dinners, so we know to schedule that turned on a later time, and the team like this organize themselves better, right? So we get all that information. We try to get it during the arrival stage. Then you have the pre-arrival. So 48 hours before you arrive to the hotel, you get an email, an automated email from us, where it's again, inviting them and being so happy that you're arriving, explaining again, once again, all the outlets, if there's anything special happening in the hotel or the city during the time, so they can prepare or even pre-book. And then again, there's another form that they can fill out with special preferences, such as if they like to have a special setup in the room, if they want to have yoga mats in the room, if they want to have extra pillows or ironing board, or things that might not be as a standard in the room, but that are all available on request. So we get all of that. So with that already, we gather information that all goes into our profile. And then comes the moment you arrive in the hotel. So in the moment you arrive in the hotel, we have a little game which we play between all the departments. Through our Teams chats, there's called the preference Teams chat, and then everybody can write down in there what the preference of the guest is. So, for example, if you like to drink sparkling water and you always ask for sparkling water, then we will note that down. So the next time you come on the second day, you'll say, would you like to have your sparkling water again with the ice and lemon, or actually sparkling water without the ice and lemon, because it's what you always ask. So trying to then be a step ahead. And with that, like kind of anything. And to do so, we always want to have fun, right? So there's games, there's prizes to be won for as the person who achieves the most preferences, and so on and so forth. Because at the end, for me, the most important thing is be able to create that personalization, and then for the guests to know that we care, that we observe, and that we action on it as well.
So that gamification is a way that you really, I guess, activate your staff and get them excited about that.
Yeah, totally. And and then the fun thing is then the prize they get at the end of the month for it's always then a prize that represents a preference of theirs, right? So that they then understand as well, wow, I got a correct, because we need to do the same. We need to find out what that person actually really likes, what's their passion, so that so that they also see it's on the two-way street, right? Yeah.
I know that when we did production here, we were lucky enough to stay, and I was so impressed to see the initials that were embroidered on the pillows. I don't believe that comes with every room, but talk to me about, so how is that communicated from somebody arriving to that message going to a seamstress to making sure that's in the right room? Because even that is quite an intricate detail.
Again, it's all the prep work that we do, right? So we do have a couple of meetings, before the guests arrive. We go through all the arrivals a week before, we go through the arrivals 3 days before, and then again the day before, and on the same day, right? So we just want to make sure that everybody is aware that if there's things to be prepared with time, that we have that time. But then again, on those meetings, we discuss it. But then with our own property management system, there's ways as well on each reservation to add what you need, to put alerts onto the reservations to make sure that that room is then blocked, and that we don't give it somebody else, and then they walk in and they find the initials or amenity or note with somebody or preferences, or the yoga mat for somebody who is maybe has never done yoga in their life before, right?
A bit confused or offended.
Correct. So that's again. So it's all about the organization and using all our systems properly.
And so you said 40% is booked through phone or email or your web. So then for the other 60%, what does that look like? Is that OTAs, travel agents?
So we've got a lot of travel agents as well. Would probably around another 30%, which are all the consortia that we work with. And then OTA is below 10%, around 8%. And the rest is just groups as well that we book, So
I think what we're seeing with travel agents is a lot of them have really strong owned channels. So how do you feel about travel agents creating content on your behalf? Like, what does that look like in terms of maintaining that same aesthetic look and feel that you have with, the strategy of sense of place and with that philosophy? So how do you work with travel agents in that way? Or are you quite relaxed in letting them kind of film any content, post on their channels?
So it depends really. Like if it's something that is an official post or like a promotion, then it's us who could give them all that, all our material as such. Now, if they come and visit the hotel and it's on their own social or the promotion, because a lot of them, they might have thousands and thousands of followers, then it's their channel, and I cannot really, but that's for us that important, that whatever we set up for them is nice and is worth filming, right? So, and I think also the ones that, know how to do it, they also know what to film and what not to film, because at the end it's also the responsibility on their own social media, right? That it looks nice as well on the grid. So, so I think, we've got great partners, great supporters that appreciate and really give us a lot of love in that way.
And so then talking about travel agents and looking at user-generated content, how does your relationship work with influencers? Like, how do you see that impacting the brand? Have you seen an increase in that? What's your opinion?
I would say we're lucky enough that we can choose who to work with. I think for us, it's not just quantity, but quality. We choose very carefully the aesthetics. We go through what they've done, how they make the pictures, how they do the videos, what's the content, how detailed it is, how do they look after the details as such as well. And this is then what we actually choose, right? So it's not necessarily because somebody has a lot of following that we just invite them in for them to do it. It needs to be very much brand aligned. I think a lot of times as well, for me, it's way more important and a little bit more as well as having quality more than quantity followers. I think, maybe micro influencers might be much more influential for us than macro influencers, right? Because, again, this is not a hotel for everybody. And at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that whoever is interested to stay with us is the ones that are attracted to that content. But for us, and the look and feel, the details is very important, right? So it's all this residential feel representing the sense of place, the sense of discovery, so that really needs to be aligned with any influencers or content creator that we work with throughout.
Probably two words that are getting quite blurred in the industry, right? Influencer, content creator. I think they have strong synergies. And I think what maybe a lot of hotels get excited by, as you said, you don't, is just looking at the followers. But then with this, you don't necessarily know if you have an audience overlay. You don't know if you have good quality. We don't know if they're bots.
Engagement,
Engagement, yeah.
Especially now when you see they've got 1,000 followers, but they don't show the likes, right? So,
yeah.
That's weird, right? So,
and then you go straight to a reel and you can look at how many views it's had. So it's a bit of a giveaway, yeah.
Yeah, so... But again, I think it had, it started great. Then I think it exploded.
It boomed.
And now it's kind of all fully balanced. So I think the strong ones and the ones who do a great job, they're doing still very well. And
yeah.
A few other ones who might have, looked for another opportunity elsewhere.
Fair enough. And how do you decide what you want to get involved with as a hotel? So obviously influencers, that's a big topic. So it sounds like you're quite methodical in who you work with. But I think the way the digital space is going, there are so many trends that people get excited by and so many different approaches. So how does your team stay aligned to their digital strategy without getting pulled in too many different directions, would you say?
So one, of course, we work very much with our corporate team. We've got a strong brand team and a strong the digital team as such, but how a website needs to look at, what content are we supposed to create, what are the guidelines for the content. So that's puts us already kind of in a straight road, right? So, and then it's up to us to see, how can we create fun and interesting and more than anything engaging content, which is that important, right? So it's not only about what it looks like, but it's also that actually how many people are actually going into it, how many people are reading about it, how many people are forwarding it, how many, all of this. And it's just, it's a true challenge, right? Because sometimes we think, oh, wow, this is fantastic. But then, the engagement or the, hasn't been as big, right? So now we've just launched, I think a couple of days ago, last Thursday, There's about our hotel dog Lulu, and
Yes, I saw this. I was about to ask about this actually.
like we've never expected to have so much engagement.
Yeah.
On comments, on forwards, on saved, people saved the story or the reel, and on likes.
Yeah.
It's completely incredible. So we clearly see that she's a little star. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing that you're pet friendly. And my background, I actually worked for Nestle Purina, so I worked a lot in pet care. So we saw the data of people that are just so fascinated with animals, and I think it's kind of second to babies. So in terms of engagement. So with that, how do you kind of lean into that? So you see that as something that people want to see more of. Is that then something that we can start to see more of in your content? Do your teams have discussions on, okay, this has performed really well, we want to integrate this more?
I mean, I think it all again comes with a balance, right? Yeah. So I think with this hotel has so many amazing stories to tell, and it's not only the hotel, it's also about, we also want to sell about the city, we want to sell about our neighborhood. We do a lot of things offsite as well, so we want to make sure that's told.
Yeah.
So it's about taking a little bit everything and creating a great plan around it. It is true that we have our own hotel dog, our own director's pet and fur.
Lulu, the mini tackle.
Very sweet.
But she comes to the hotel every day, and at the end, it's true. It's having a dog in a hotel creates again a bit more of a residential feel. Like invite them to the home, which again, Rosewood is exactly that. Right?
Yeah,
it's creating a home away from home. It's creating that residential, warm, cozy feel when you come, right? So
yeah,
a little dog there in the lobby welcoming you. Well, it's already like, oh, look how cute.
Yeah.
And it is true that I think for many families as well, that decide not to have babies, the dogs become the baby.
Yeah.
So it is now you see more and more that actually dogs, also hotels are becoming more dog friendly.
Yeah.
Dogs are allowed to the restaurant and so on and so forth, because there has been a trend.
Yeah.
Right? But I remember still a few years ago in Barcelona, when I was previous to the hotel before this one, I looked and there was not one luxury hotel that allowed dogs. So I said, let's
change that.
Correct. And the take on bookings and guests coming and thanking and being so grateful.
Oh wow,
was huge, right? So by coming here, we of course continue that. But Rosewood as a company is very pet friendly, right? So we have full-on programs on how to engage and really make the pet feel special. And the pet feel special means like touching emotionally the parent of the pet, right? When you come into the room and there's a note written for the pet with an embroidered pillowcase for the pet, pet menu for them to choose from, an amazing curated toy, and all of that. Again, for us, it's about finding those the details locally, right? So each brand again has something which tells again the story about the city or the destination there, and I think that again makes it very special, right? At the end of the day, it's also about probably have another content created just there for anybody who likes that, right?
Yeah.
So it's fun to take pictures. So I think going back to the original question, it's really for us when we look at what we do digitally, what are we going to promote? It really depends on the seasonality. It depends on what we feel is coming up. We feel what our guests, our clients, our followers are interested in to see, and how we have a little bit of a mix. Now, clearly, having Lulu on this is something that makes everybody a big smile on the face. So we'll keep on hanging her up and now and then, but it's not going to be just Lulu.
It's not going to be a takeover. But I love that you refer to, I guess, pet owners as parents, because even having that insight, it means you're able to connect in more of an emotional way. And then it seems like a sincere interaction and consideration for your guests, instead of it being like a brand tactic or seeing an opportunity, right? Which I think some hotels do. So I think that's really nice. To ask you, let's say you hadn't done anything online yet with Rosewood, what would your absolute must be, knowing what you know? What would you integrate as of tomorrow that you wouldn't change?
On
digital. So if you had to completely start again, what would be a no-brainer for you that you see as driving incredible value for the business and for the brand?
For me, I think two most important things. One is your website.
Yeah.
and social media.
Okay.
Social media really at the moment, I think mostly into Instagram more than going to TikToks or Facebook. I think that a lot of people are actually now even jumping the website and going straight onto social media,
Yes.
straight into Instagram. And before we always before we had the brochures, right? We had
Yeah. We had a good travel magazine. Yeah.
that's nice to put a little
For the page.
page. Okay, remember if I go to Spain, where to stay. That is the website, right? So
Yeah.
that's very important. But now it's also about your social media, right? Because it feels way more true.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I travel and what with my fiance, she looks, to know what to pack.
Yeah.
She checks,
On the Instagram, who are tagged, or all those the hashtags.
Guilty. I do the same.
You see, so this is kind of the vibe people go,
Yeah,
so I know what
yeah.
to pack, right? So this is very much like that.
Yeah.
So I think nowadays I would clearly need to have an important website, because at the end it's kind of where you at the end.
Book,
And
and you go and it's your home, is where you have the most information, but then your social has to really be engaging, has to really reflect what the atmosphere, what the hotel has to give, the ambience, and also the surroundings, right? So I think those, if I have to start off, those would be my first main priorities to get that right before I do anything else.
And do you feel the way that people interact with social is because it's leaning into being video first? So, you said atmospheric and these kind of terms, which if you go onto a brand website, I wouldn't say that gives you a sense of, how you navigate around a room, or when you're in a restaurant, what is the vibe? As you said, if your fiance wants to know, okay, what are we wearing in this hotel bar or hotel restaurant? You do find that, and I'd say video is quite important for that. So do you see that web could change if they started to integrate more video, or you think it's the nature of the channels?
No, I think also most of the webs are integrating more videos, right? But at the end of the day, they're very curated, it's your home, it's your, so everything is perfect, right? So, and a lot of times we want to find out, a little bit behind that scene, right?
Go to tagged photos.
Correct. Behind that stage. Is it really that perfect, or how is it actually in real life? Because again, it's very difficult to have a beautiful video with actually just the random, or just the normal clients or guests of the hotel, right? You need to remember actors, and it all looks very nice, but is that true, right? So it's a nice postcard, it's a nice welcome, it's a nice home. But I think with all the, from actually reels to actually then seeing what people upload in all of that, you really get that atmosphere, right? And I think it's all about, it's been changing. First was a picture, then it was multiple pictures, then it was video content, right? Now, or first stories, then it's about the reels, So it all changes, but it's true that visual videos is way more engaging than a carousel on pictures, for example.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting. We certainly see this as an agency that when we work with partners and they're putting more video on their website, you increase dwell time, you increase conversions. So I think this is very interesting. And then we have this boom of social commerce. So how do you feel that is going to impact Rosewood? Is that something you consider as people want to obviously go onto these platforms natively and they want to be able to book? Or do you still want to push them to your web to book or pick up the phone?
I mean, I think the most important thing is to make it easy for whoever wants to book, right? So, and I think the OTAs have nailed it, right? So if you go to booking.com, not that I want to necessarily promote booking.com, but they've done a great, but they're doing a fantastic job, right? So in 3 clicks, the room is booked, like easy, straightforward, everything, and like they have all your details, you don't have to fill anything out, and so, and this is a little bit where us hoteliers need to get to with our website, with our mobile web, let's put it that way, all directly through social, right? So it needs to be easy, it needs to be adaptable, there needs to be a way of them already knowing you, and because that's, we live in such a fast-paced world right now that it's all about getting things done quickly, right? That's why also Amazon is doing, 3 clicks. I was earlier in the gym and I said, I need to do it. While I was just resting, 2 clicks and I had it's already arriving to the evening, something that I needed, right? And again, and that's nature, right? This is what's happening at the moment. And even though we all also want to always support, the local shops and all that. So it's about how can we integrate all of that in the experience of, for example, here in Via Magna, is the whole experience that we give to our guests, right? And that's why also in our social we speak about, the little shops around us. We have video content about our neighborhood. We do try to connect with all our neighbors in doing collaborations and all that, because it's about helping one another to become bigger.
And I think this is done really well with partnering with tourism boards, which I believe you guys have done as well. So obviously promoting it as a destination and a location instead of it just being a hotel in a place. So what does that look like when you're talking with the tourism board of Madrid, for example?
So the nice thing is that once we get together, because at the end of the day, we need the tourists to come, right? And it doesn't only help if I'm by myself doing something here. So we need to work as a team with all the other hotels, with the competition. The more people come, the better it is for us. And with the tourism boards in Madrid specifically, they've done a great job, right? So they've really focused on maintaining high level tourism. They've created a high impact tourism board, meaning that really focusing on the tourism that will really bring a lot of jobs, revenue, and quality to the city, right? So learning from other cities, they wanted to really, so they got all us together from the different hotels, travel agencies, shops, DMCs, etc., to work together as a forum and pitch ideas and see how can we maintain or even elevate more in Madrid. What do our clients want? What do our future clients want? We also are lucky, we travel a lot. We speak to clients, to partners, to agents, to whatever it is. And we learn and we also compare to other big cities, because Madrid now, we don't compare ourselves to necessarily other cities in Spain, but we compare ourselves to the other capitals, other big capitals in Europe, right? And that's kind of where we want to go to. So it's all about learning and benchmarking on what they've done well, and also learning from what they might have done not that well, right? So it's that, and I think at the moment in Madrid we're in a good way in working together with the tourism board, with the local government, and also with all our partners and friends in the travel industry.
And then how about markets outside of Spain? So do you have a desire to tap into different markets? How do you then integrate that into digital planning or digital communications?
I mean, clearly we have our target markets, but again, if there's seasonalities, if there's a long weekend, which is especially in Europe, so we then work a lot with paid media. So there's something that myself and the team, we look at, okay, so what do we think, and then we push a little bit, maybe let's say we feel like the UK has not a long weekend coming up, okay, let's push a little bit there. The US for us is always a big market, but it's something we do throughout the year, as well as Mexico and Latin America. But we really focus on, okay, where do we want to get to, or where do we think this new offer could be interesting, and then we try. Again, for what I want my team to do and what we work is always about, we need to think outside the box. We need to trial and error, If we don't try, we'll never know, right? And there's never, we just important to learn from whatever we do. If we do a mistake, we do it, right? But we know how to do it differently next time. And I think that's very, very important, especially in these days, in times where things change so fast. And, if you stick only to your one strategy that you made up maybe a year ago, won't work this year.
Yeah. No, I think that's great that you empower your teams to kind of, let's say, fail with conviction, if that's the case. But if you gather insight, then you're still building and you can have these iterations. And it's great that you do paid, because I always say, these platforms are pay to play. So lots of people expect results organically. So how have your team decided what to put money behind, what not to? How do you take that paid approach?
Yeah, so on one side, we internally within the communications, marketing, digital team here at the hotel, we look at it. We have a weekly meeting and how we look at strategies. What's going to be like, what the posts are coming up. What do you want to promote? What maybe room packages are there? What F&B offerings are there? To see, okay, what do you want to push? Once we know that, then we focus. Okay, who do you want to push this to, right? Then we look at, okay, within our budget for this, how much do we give to each activation or to each push that we want to do. At the same time, though, we've got agencies that we work with that come from our corporate brand that help us as well in this strategizing, in analyzing, in getting all that input so that we can look at it weekly and say, okay, so this worked, this didn't work, and then learn from that and getting that support.
And do you learn from the other Rosewoods? Is there a lot of kind of cross-market sharing, or you sit quite siloed?
No, clearly that, I mean, there is, we will learn from each other. We learn from our regional teams as well. So of course we have the main corporate team, and then there's regional teams in APAC and EMEAC and in Americas. So we clearly work much more with the EMEAC region. But we do also have, of course, our colleagues, and if we see something that they've done well, or we share best practices for them to, or, you know, if we see something that we feel looks great, hey, how did it go? Did it work well? But generally it's also filtered to our regional team, because they say, hey, you know, the Creo in Paris just did this and they had a fantastic engagement, and the return on investment on the paid was X, you know. Maybe you want to reach out, you know, so we help each other out as well. And this is also very nice in Rosewood, because it is we're still not that big of a company, and it is truly like the hotels support each other, like if they're brothers and sisters, and it starts from the managing director. So we all, when we get along, when we get together, we get along very, very well, and we have a great time.
Yeah, it looks like that from an outsider, so that's nice. It looks very complimentary instead of competitive.
Correct, and that's a nice thing, you know. There's no competition, right? So clearly, you know, everybody wants to have their hotel number one in the region, but you know, other than that, you know, when we get together, you know, it's about having a good time, speaking, and again, helping each other. You know, we have monthly calls just within the MDs, and we see what is working, what's not. We have chats, you know, if somebody has an issue or has a doubt, and like this, we kind of help each other and grow each other.
That's nice to have a strong network, even if you're in different countries.
Yeah.
And maybe to wrap up, because I believe you have another meeting soon.
We still have 10 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So if I can ask you to think of hotels of the future, let's say 5 years from now, how do you think, obviously everybody gets maybe a bit stressed about AI and how we're going to lose that human interaction. So what's your view on the future of hospitality? Do you see it really leaning into AI, or do you see it in another direction, let's say in 5 years?
No, the AI is a reality, and AI is coming. I mean, there's nothing that if we try to close our eyes and think it's going to pass, it's not, right? And I think in hospitality, generally, we are latecomers to a lot of technologies. And I think now is the time for us to actually make a change. And I think that's something we discussed internally as well within Rosewood. And actually just yesterday, we received the first AI brief as to how to use AI within the organization, right? So that's a good step ahead. I think, you know, on one side, we need to use AI to help us, right? So there's still a lot of manual work that we do. You know, there's a lot of paperwork that we do. There's a lot of these things that AI will take away, and we can really then use the time more to engage with the guests, to communicate with the guests, because guests will still want to speak to somebody. And not to a robot. Anyway, they still want to have a person being here and checking them in, right? We will have, of course, and this exists already, you know, where there's no reception desk. You will come in, you get your key on your mobile, you go to the room, so you don't see anybody, right? Correct. But it works. But it works for people, right? So if you're in business, you know, and you're running, and you don't need anything, right? As long as you have a comfortable bed, great shower, great Wi-Fi, a good TV, and a working space, and you know, then you're out and about anyway all the time, right? So you know, I think clearly that exists and will become more. I think also luxury properties will adapt that, you know, to have that for the guests that want it, right? So not to lose people who want to have that quick and zero interaction. But at the end of the day, I think when you come and stay with hotels like us, you know, and you pay a average rate which is above €1,000 a night, you know, clearly it's for the quality of the sheets, of the bed, of the food and beverage, but it's more about the engagement that you have with the employees, right? That personalization, you know, being welcome back. If it's your first time, you know, getting the guests, you know, getting to know the guests, you know, and for what I always work and tell the team, and for us is kind of this one big thing, and it's about touching the guest emotionally, right? So it's about the guest leaving with a emotional recollection of something, right? So clearly, you know, whoever stays here, they can stay anywhere in the world. You know, most of them fly private. They have big yachts. They go stay in the best hotels in the world. They have, I don't know how many houses and mansions, right? So they have that, right? So that's the expectation.
So it takes a lot to impress them then.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, they pay the rate. That's what they want, right? So how will you ensure that when they go into the France, they speak about your hotel, right? They won't say, oh, because the batteries were so good. Well, hopefully they were very good, right? But that's what I expect. But it's more about, you know, how you were made feel, right? What have they done? What was the small connection they've done? And that AI will not do for you, right? So that you will always need that personal touch that wants to do that, right? So I think it's coming. Technology is something that we need to work with, and we need to use in the best way possible. But yeah, I think one of the good things is that hospitality is not something that will vanish.
It's not going to be taken over from AI then. We won't see robots walking around Rosewood anytime soon.
Not in Rosewood. I think that you will see them in some properties probably around the world. I saw somebody sent me a video of a robot collecting the trays from a cafeteria.
Yeah, no, we had this in a restaurant in Barcelona. It's quite fascinating. So
I don't think we'll have any trays in restaurants yet within Rosewood. But again, you know, it is something that will come, and you say that exists in Barcelona already and exists in many other places, and it will improve, and the robots will become more human as well. So I hope that I won't see that there's no real humans and robots will do all the work. But hey, who knows, right?
Who knows? But I think, as you said, it's about taking maybe the laborsome tasks that are taking your team away from being client facing, because that's where they can add most value. So then it's systems, processes, you know, how do you integrate personalization? How can AI help you improve that? And especially with, you know, preferences and these kind of pieces, I think that's a better way to do it.
Yeah, totally. And there's a lot, you know, I just think about my reservations team, how many emails they send and how many emails they write and quote, and they're very nice. And, you know, I've never seen, you know, our reservations team being so engaging in each email, having a different little sentence for the guest, depending on.
So it's really not automated.
No, it's not automated at all, right? But again, it takes a lot of time, right? So an AI can prepare all that for you, and you just finish it off with something. So I think there's, as you mentioned, it will help with a lot of things for them then really to focus and engage more with the guest rather than just spending a lot of time typing away an email.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much. I think you shared lots of insight. I really appreciate you sharing that with me and taking the time. So yeah, for people listening, obviously they can follow you on LinkedIn and see the journey that you have. And yeah, it's been really great talking with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for you of joining us here in Madrid, and for the interest and also your time. So thank you, and this is your home for whatever you need.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.